Wargamer Online, the home of wargaming.
Can you hear me? I hope so. Some technical difficulties there. Apologies. We should be up and running. I'm just going to have a mild panic while I sort a few things out, and then hopefully we'll be good to go. So yeah, let's just sort this out. Sorry, I had a bit of a problem and I had to strip the system to pieces with like 20 seconds to go before the show. So hopefully you can hear me now. I'm going to catch up with some of the chat and say hello to people, and it should be okay. I'm just noticing all sorts of things, like I've not turned my lights on or anything else like that. So let's just get some of these on and hopefully it'll be a little bit brighter in here. How about that? And can everybody hear me okay? So I'm looking for people like Johnny Rockstar or DJ the Lucky One or someone to confirm to me that audio is working fine. So it appears to be, so I think we should be good. This Warhammer Kit stuff is great. I love painting my new Silver Tower stuff, says Slippy Tiger. We can hear you, but there's background noise. Am I on a train? No, but has that solved it? That should be a bit quieter now. It was really cold in here, so I put the heating on, and because I've had this last minute technical panic, the machine did a restart. I had to sort out things. It says I sound like I'm on a plane, so hold on a second. Hello, hello, hello. Right, okay, I know what's wrong. Give me a second, people. And is that better? Oh, is that better? Is that better? Is that really loud now? Sorry. Yep, the train stopped now. Okay. Well, I've also put you through to the right microphone as well, so hopefully, sorry about that if that was a massive impact of noise there. Just one of those things. Let's get into the show. I've actually got a few people out there. I've got some people on the chat. I actually don't know who's on the chat, so that's fine by me. I'm going to bring them in at some point, and hopefully everything will be good, but I'm slightly hesitant to press any buttons right now in case it all goes wrong. But let's see if we can get somebody to say hello. I will catch up with the chat in a second, folks. So Ralph, are you out there? I believe you were there. Right, you're there. I'm not sure anybody can hear you at the moment, so just give me a second, and I will get those people to be able to hear you. So, oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. Da 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 da. Now, Ralph, can you give me a testing?
Yeah, I can try to do that. Yeah.
So hopefully everybody can hear you too now, Ralph. I don't know whether anybody else is on the chat, and I've not got the screen open to even check. I think we should get straight into the show, say hello to a bunch of people, and see what's going out there in the world of hobby. Coleman's out there, Skegatron's out there. We've got Moogie Pie saying hello. Hey, Moogie Pie. Who is getting into... no, wait, it was Skegatron who is getting into Slaves of Darkness, which is very cool. And Gigatron talking about the Christmas box sets, which are incredible. I grant you that. Let's just try and tidy that background up a little bit. Coleman says you can now hear Ralph. I don't know whether Coleman will be joining or not, but needless to say, the other guests will be audio only because I haven't had time to check set the cameras up or anything. I'm afraid I was caught on a call. Didn't finish until very close to going live, and then I immediately had to get the show up and running and then encountered terrible technical problems. So we've got Lucky Mother Clucker saying technical difficulties ? Too right, mate. Johnny Rockstar is in. DJ the Lucky One. Avoid confusion saying salutations, travellers. And we have got, who else? David Ellis saying hiya. JJ saying hello/wave. David Ellis is in there. Audio works but isn't 100% clear. I think we'll just skip past the audio issues, avoid confusion. So who's pre-ordered Blackstone Fortress? Good question. Let me know if you have indeed pre-ordered Blackstone Fortress, because it is very, very cool. The sound is like melted butter, says Slippy Tycoon. And Alan Cluley has pre-ordered it. So what else have we got? Thordalim is in there saying hi all. Somebody can hear Ralph. Yep, sounds working fine. We are up to date on all the chat, which is great stuff. I'm going to see if I can elevate. You know what? I knew I'd find a use for this. I'm going to use that to elevate my iPad so I can see the chat a little bit easier. You know, well, that's perfect. Those little ridges, got two of these, got one for me, one for Jack. Those little ridges are perfect for balancing your iPad on. So there you go. Many uses. Thordalim pre-ordered Blackstone. What we're going to do is I'm going to catch up with what's on my desk. What's on my desk is a whole bunch of models. I'm going to continue with the building of the Blackstone Fortress models. As you know, I kind of did a very quick unboxing where I just looked through the box, but there'd already been quite a lot of content out there because it had been released to the FLGs and all the rest. So what I decided to do was to just do a sort of live hobby session where I'm building the models, going through them. What I've done hopefully is I've fixed the exposure on this camera as well. So hopefully you can see this sort of dark red plastic a little bit better, and we'll zoom in as and when the time comes. I have also pre-cut out some of the, shall I say bad guys? I don't know whether you can say bad guys or not. So we're ready for a bit of a hobby session, basically. In the meantime, we can catch up with Ralph, and I'll just quickly check messages. Ralph, what have you been working on this week? You tell everybody while I just find out what's going on the chat. No,
Sure.
That's okay. It's just good old Coleman checking everything's fine. But, you know, I'm sure somebody might join in the chat at some point. We'll never know.
Well, basically, I've not been up too much. I'm working on my Skitari kill team, my AdMech kill team. I'm pretty much done with the first 5 models or so. But I made the huge mistake of gluing these models together before actually painting them. And they're so detailed and so rich. It's a nightmare to paint, basically.
Yeah, they are beautiful models, though. Is this the standard Skitari you're working on, or have you got the infiltrators, or...?
Those are the ones from the starter, from the kill team starter box. But
right.
I have ordered 3 or 4 additional units, so I can beef up the kill teams as and when needed. And they'll also be forming part of my first ever 40k army. So yeah,
that's cool. First ever 40k army as well. That's what I like to hear. You've gone over to the dark side, Ralph.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm just going through the models that I built last week, and I absolutely love this Rogue Trader. I'm hoping you guys can see that well. Let's see what happens if I just slide that to one side and zoom in a little bit. The Rogue Trader model, I don't think I kind of talked about it much as we were working on last week's show. So I love his little, I think they call them, is it glow sticks, I think they call them, or something like that. They've got a name for them in 40k, but essentially his cigarette, which is just absolutely brilliant. In fact, I think it's a cigarillo, isn't it? Either way, very cool. Awesome little power sword. Love this wee little beastie on his back. Pardon?
They're called EO sticks.
EO sticks. Ralph, I can only assume you're mixing your paint back there, yeah?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Right, there's the navigator, and by some miracle, I'd actually managed to get that on camera. I don't know how I did that because I wasn't really concentrating. And here we go. This is one of my favourite. A little bit of tidy up required, but I'm going to be doing a live painting session of this chap. I think we're going to get him trying to be done in one session. I think that's possible actually. He's a very cute dude, but he's ancient, so I'm going to do a bit of weathering and stuff on him as well. And then finally, I think, as far as I got, here's the Chaos Lord. Very cool pose. I really like this guy. None of them are glued to their bases, by the way. But what's really nice about these, because they're all slaughter bases and peg bases, I've been able to just drop them in their base as soon as I've finished painting them. And then we've got some cool little gribbly dude, which I'm sure has a name, and of course I've forgotten it. Right, let's get into this hobby session. Maybe someone will join us on the chat. Don't know, but they're welcome to. And Urgals, there you are. That's what they're called. They are called Urgals. What I'm going to get on with is I am going to finish off the retinue of explorers. I've just seen something on the chat, and I think was that Crazy Gamer. No, it wasn't, but hello, Crazy Gamer. It was a Void Confusion saying, who wants to see an explorer's kill team? Ah, definitely me. I think it's exciting. You get these guys 40k rules, but also at the same time to actually have kill team rules for these would be absolutely brilliant. I want to see more and more rogue traders. I want to see like an assassin kill team and those kind of things. I just want to see it fully expanded. Jack was playing kill team this weekend, had a load of fun against Necrons. Ralph, have you played any kill team yet? Are you still at the early build stage?
I have played a couple of games against my son.
Okay.
But with very, very, very basic rules. But we're working our way through the rule system, making it a bit more complex as we learn the other rules, get them memorized, and it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things you have to. Jack found this. The biggest challenge Jack found with Kill Team, and I know we're meant to be talking about Blackstone Fortress, but I'm just going to drift around on Kill Team for a while. But I think the biggest challenge Jack found is the low kill rate, basically. You know, you get so used to 40k and Age of Sigmar where you're sweeping 20-30 models off in a turn. Well, you certainly do when you're Jack. It tends not to happen for me, but he can certainly just get to that point where you're removing tons of models. And then you get into this game, and like any sort of small faction skirmish game, the pace is just completely different. So for Jack to go an entire turn without removing a model, or go 2 turns without removing a model, is just acutely frustrating to him. But you know, it's just getting used to that different pace when you're used to mass combat.
Yeah, I mean, we find it pretty. The fun thing is you can get a game in like 45 minutes, have a quick beer, come back and do the next game, and it's really, 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 really nice, particularly with the terrain that came in the starter box. Never had so much fun with a board game. With a tabletop game. Pretty much right out of the box than I had with Kill Team. Yeah.
You're right. It was. I mean, a lot of people, of course, very quickly pointed out they wish the starter box had more terrain in. But I think to get going on the game, it's absolutely fine. And it's you know, all the subsequent releases where they've released the factions, and those factions, if you've gone for the faction box, have all included extra bits of terrain to use as well, and they've been paired up against the factions. So I think it was Tower and Necron. So, you know, by the time you've worked through some of those factions, and they were great price, £30-something, weren't they, for a faction and a bit of terrain and the cards to accompany the team.
I mean, I've got the org box with the terrain that came with that, and I just bought the derelict, whatever it is, set for 40k to get some extra terrain on the table, so I think we're pretty much set now.
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, I also think it's kind of not a bad scale. You know, if you don't want to get into the whole building yourself a 6 foot by 4 foot war game with all the terrain pieces, it's a great place to start to do some little sort of custom terrain pieces that they're more or less one standalone boards. You know, I can see that working because they're only sort of 2.5 foot by 3 foot. If you don't go too high with some of the terrain, you know, you could create 2 or 3 really almost diorama-esque pieces of terrain You know, and you could probably store 2 or 3 of those somewhere in the loft or something like that. You know, really put some, you know, sink some time into it. You know, and even if you did like a, you know, that classic grid system where you can still alter the layout a little bit, because the problem is with fixed layouts, of course, is someone generally finds a way of benefiting from the layout of the terrain. Well, if you do a lot of planning, you can avoid that, but even so, you know, that's the thing for me. I really want to actually build. In the Rogue Trader box, you had the little shuttle ship. I definitely want to build that as a full piece of terrain. So that's something I've been working on. I've been doing some very early work on, but the idea is to 3D print the walls and just follow the pattern of the board itself and turn it into an actual terrain piece. Needless to say, that's not necessarily what we're talking today about. We're talking about Blackstone Fortress. I'd love to know if any people out there have played any demo games yet. I'm still working on the models, as you can see. I've not had a chance to play a demo game. I've watched the playthrough, but they have been in the stores now. There's a whole bunch of stores that have got their stuff painted. I know that my local games workshop in Leamington has been doing demo games, as well as our local gaming store. Crescent Wargaming guys have been doing you know, their demo games as well, but I've not managed to get to either of them at the moment for a test game. So is there anybody out there you know, who's managed to get a demo game in? And we've got a bunch of stuff in the chat anyway, which I'll cover while you muse over that.
Hello?
Oh, I think Coleman's just joined us in the chat as well, so I better answer the first question.
I've been sitting here quietly, but I was just Ralph, you've got someone in chat asking whether you were German.
Yep.
What?
But
Born, bred, and raised.
Yeah, that's been already revealed. So if you look towards avoid confusion, he or she is German too.
Ah, okay. Do we want to switch language of the chat, of the entire chat? Got a feeling I might be, you know, cut out a little bit from the show. But
I'll prop you up.
You know, was ist das?
I don't mind.
I tell you what. While I've got you guys on the chat, then, have any of you ever used this EMA plastic weld? Then, has that ever come into your usage at all when building models? And I'll tell you a little story. I ran out of plastic glue in the week, and I've got a whole bunch of kit which I inherited quite literally from my father-in-law, bless him. All of his hobby stuff went to me because he used to build, like, you know, model aircrafts, and I think he did Napoleonic, like the large scale Napoleonics and all those kind of things, and there was a bunch of hobby stuff. And in this big pot of stuff, which I you know, shuffle through every now and then, I came across this Model Supplies plastic weld, and I tried it actually, and I have to say I'm impressed. It's one of these super viscous glues. So, sorry, no, wrong. What's the opposite of viscous? Super fluid. Yeah, super fluid glues. And all you have to do basically is dry fit your model together, get a little bit of the glue on a brush, touch it to the joint, and capillary action just draws it all into the joint, and your model never comes apart again. So I really like it.
So that's like the Tamiya, the super thin. Is it super thin, extra thin?
It's the extra thin, yeah.
Extra thin, yeah. Extra thin.
Yeah,
cement.
I'm guessing so. But certainly for these push fit models, I think it's ideal. So tonight, on tonight's show, I'm only used it on 2 other models, but I'm going to experiment it with these. Seems a rather dangerous thing to do with such beautiful models, but I'm going to experiment with it tonight.
I've tried using it. I'm just not. I can't see much of the benefit. Maybe it's just a matter of how used I am to, you know, using the normal, a little bit more thick glue. I just haven't encountered any situation where I would find it beneficial to just hold pieces together and try to, you know, let the glue sip in.
Well, it's pretty much the only glue I use when doing plastics, because the advantage of it is that you do not get, if you're careful about it, you don't get any glue spilling out of the joints. And by pressing them together within 10-15 seconds, the glue is starting to set, and the mini is actually staying put in place.
This is what I'm finding, especially with these models that have quite challenging fits. This is. You've not got a lot of these push fits have a very particular way of attaching. It's what you can do is almost dry fit them and really put them under pressure to get that joint to close up, and then just get some of the glue on the brush and drop it in there. And I've been really impressed with it so far. I really have. But it's early days and well within the bounds. I'm not going to glue that gun on until it's on its base. I'm not going to be happy about choosing the angle of it. But well within the bounds of me to completely mess this up during the live show. So let's look forward to that. One thing I have been doing, I did talk through it a little bit in the last show, but what I have been doing is trimming the pegs down to give less resistance on those push fit pegs. Also room for the glue, although that's less of an issue now, but certainly I still like the idea of reducing the resistance down to try and get a tighter fit.
Looking at each other, it seems like quite a few people have used it and seem to be recommending it.
Well, I might be a convert, I have to say. Thanks go out to my father-in-law, basically, because if it wasn't for him and his collection of glues, of which there are many, I don't think I'd have ever encountered this.
So you've never used a Tamiya before?
No. I don't think so. No, definitely not.
Well, I think I bought mine at the back of recommendation from Sam.
Okay.
When he was answering questions about things he uses, so that was the first time I've used. I thought about it and used it. So but then again, I grew up doing plastic planes, and we didn't have a choice. It was just the plastic glue, which is the thicker one. So that's kind of if you grow up with one kind, that's what you go for. Unless you, all the way until the golden age of internet and YouTube tutorials.
The golden age of the internet. Is that what we're in now? I think we must be.
No, that was 5 years ago.
Ah, no, okay.
Oh, it's all fake news.
Crikey. So, Coleman, what have you been up to this week in the hobby world?
Breaking arms.
Breaking arms? Have you broke your own arm or breaking the arms of models?
Models, thankfully.
Thank goodness.
I had my own prior unit of Volkite Berserkers with slingshots and picks, and I just bought a bundle on eBay which came with 30 Volkite Berserkers with slingshots and 4 picks. So now the original 20 will be retrofitted with double axes.
Ah, so you're going for the double axe option. Rerolls to hits rather than the slink shields?
I'm going for variety where there's none. So, I just can't face having two massive units. I mean massive, massive size-wise, because obviously they're on bigger bases, so they look bigger. With the same weapons, looking the same. So, but they do have different uses as well.
Without doubt.
I do like the reroll failed hit rolls, and with the Runesmiter a hand reroll failed wound rolls as well. So there's some mileage in there as well.
Yeah, I think the way I like to do that is, of course, the classic is to Oh, that's terrifying, squeezing that gun onto that. The classic is, of course, to do the Rune Smiter pop up and charge and get all that in, which I think the sling shields are great, because if you're intending to charge with the unit, you know, the sling shields are that option to do the mortal wounds on the charge, which is brilliant. But I do like the double axes if I want to actually deploy them in the traditional way and have them hold an objective from early in the game, because just having that re-roll to hit, you know, you're doing the charge anyway.
However, then when you're defending, the sling shields do come handy as well, because they give you 4-up save.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course.
So you get 4-up save, and then obviously on 20 plus you get another the Mohawk save again on 4-up. So so they are very good at holding the objectives, which I actually practiced a week ago on Saturday when I did 1500 points game, and I came with all flavors of dwarves. So I had Fire Slayers, KO, Dispossessed, and then 3 Gyro Bombers. And basically, that's what they are. I deployed out 30 of Volkites on the objective with Rune Smiter, and and in the course of the game, I lost 1 of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. How disappointing for your opponent.
Well, he was more surprised to see a Magma Droth, a unit of 12 Endrin Riggers and 3 Gyrocopters take hold of the other objective at the beginning of first round. He's not used to dwarves zooming across the table.
They're pretty quick. Right, I've got in the chat, avoid confusion, and Sabo Daniel is all saying low stick. So there you go, that's what I was looking for. I knew it was like glow stick, something like that, so low stick. Thank you very much for that. It drives me crazy when I can't remember something like that, so I'm quite happy now. I've just finished Ravna Rogue on my audiobooks and moved on to Realm Slayer. So I'm getting a daily dose of Brian Blessed at the moment.
I'm in chapter 3.
I'm surprised he's not shouting at us.
Dive! Although he doesn't say that at any point. Right, hold on. What else have we got going off in the chat? Kill team rules for these guys would increase sales to no end, I think. I did see a comment, sir. Alan, it was Alan Cluley actually saying why I didn't buy Rogue Trader. No rule for anyone other than Star Striders. Expansion needed. I'm absolutely with you there. I mean, although saying that, the Star Striders are an incredibly cool team to play, with or without an expansion. But as ever in this world, we could always have more, couldn't we? And I would like to see this. I'd like to see Star Striders expanded as a faction in their own right. To be honest, they were, as in, you know, taking more of the ship's crew and doing something with that outside of Commander, so you could kind of field that faction outside of Commander. But there you go, just a thought. Jack was playing Death Guard versus Necron. My brother was playing Necron. He was down for the weekend, and my Necrons in Kill Team are survivable. Have you guys played against them at all, or Ralph? I know you played a couple of games, so.
No, not against Necrons yet, no.
So the reanimation protocol in that one is when you do your wound roll, or your injury roll, should I say, to use the proper term, on a natural roll of 6, they ignore the injury. They regain their 1 wound, which consider, I think almost all of the Necrons are 1 wound anyway, so essentially they just gain their wound. But they also lose any flesh wound that they've accumulated up until the game. So I saw one of my brother's Necrons not only ignore an attack against him, but with a natural 6, then discount 2 flesh wounds that it amassed as well.
That is pretty cool.
It was a pretty horrible combination because a lot of Jack's Death Guard were doing 2 damage, and of course with 2 damage you roll 2 dice and pick the highest, and of course that gives you 2 chances of getting a 6, and of course if you do get the 6 you pick the highest, which means you then ignore it. So interesting.
I mean, to be honest with you, I looked when I decided to take a dip into 40k. I looked at the Necrons as one of the possible factions because I simply like the models for some strange reason.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. They didn't quite click. Let's put it this way.
Right. Well, it's an interesting one. Some people don't like the models because they see it as kind of monotonous to paint it. But I actually think they're great. There's a lot you can do with the models actually, and especially in a kill team. I think the idea of almost going quite unique with each one of them would be very cool.
Yep, I totally agree.
The kind of more elite ones in particular are meant to have a little bit of personality left in them, aren't they? Their engrams are a little bit more complete, should we say. So there's a possibility. Right, I'm going to try and put this last character together, which is the Missionary Zealot. Quick look at what's going off on the chat. We've got a whole bunch of German chat for you, Ralph, if you want to catch up. Guten Abend. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the rest. Habe die
Ehre.
Ehre? Help me out with that again. Ehre. Okay.
Ehre.
Go on then, what does that mean? Ehre.
It's my honor.
Okay, nice. And what have we got on? Thordelman says no demo game yet. Played Silver Tower and Hammeral though. Looks like it's an improved mix of that, which is cool. Lucky says, do you think GW are at risk of reaching oversaturation? It feels like a new game is coming out every week. Yes and no. Two-part answer. I've given this a lot of thought actually, and the reason it's a two-part answer is because I think individually as gamers we can be oversaturated. It just becomes there's too much to choose from, but I think after a bit you start to settle down and say, well, I know what I like, I know what I want to play, so they can keep releasing this stuff, but I'm just going to focus on the stuff I love the most. But it has a little bit of an impact on you because you can start to say, well, you've kind of gone blind to the new releases, if you like. From a market perspective, that's where I'd say right now the market is strong, it's buoyant. We can see that. We can see that in their trading. So the point is I think they're expanding their reach by connecting with players who may not want to do the full mass battle games, etc. So for me, like I say, it's a two-part question. Individually it becomes quite hard to keep up with everything they're doing. I think it'd be nigh on impossible for anybody to sorry, I'm having a panic there. Be nigh on impossible for any single gamer to get into everything they do. I've just terrified myself. I'm going to go for the big hard push on that one in the hope that I can rescue it. Yeah, that's good. I'm going to have to fill that though. I didn't take enough of the peg off on that model. And you don't want to push it too hard because you can damage it, so that will need a little bit of green stuff, but that's my fault for kind of not really concentrating on what I'm doing. So yeah, like I say, individually I think players can get oversaturated, but the market itself seems buoyant. People seeming to want to play very different stuff. I know that Kill Team and has brought people back into 40k. Ralph, you're testament to that, aren't you? You've been kind of introduced yourself to 40k through that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had this discussion in our local game group around here, which was pretty heavily 40k and AOS orientated. And whilst it is true that the AOS entry level, or entry barrier as they call it, is a little bit lower than the 40k one, you still need a lot of models, you still need to do a lot of painting, you still do need, to build your armies up. And with 40k, what we've seen is, with Kill Team, sorry, what we've seen is that we've got 4 or 5 particularly younger players, like the 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Once we've done a couple of demo games that came in and started to pick the hobby up. And I think that's where G-Dubs are doing things right at the moment. They're going for quicker to play games. Not just in the time manner, but also in the building and getting ready to play manner. And the fact that they've done the starter boxes and the extensions in pre-colored plastic is genius, because you get players that don't want to paint necessarily before they start to play, and they just put the miniatures together and start playing. End of.
Well, I'm planning to take the Shadespire box with me for Christmas, for the family meeting, and see if it bites.
What a great idea!
Definitely.
Because
Are there any?
you can slap it on the table. You've got small warbands. You still need to get your head around the rules if you've never tried any type of tabletop wargaming, but definitely quicker to get yourself into it than even running a skirmish. So I totally agree. That's a great way of reaching out and getting people interested, and not putting people off at the very beginning with the amount of work you need to input before you're ready to go.
So I think we all agree it's good for introducing people. It's good for cross-pollination of players into the one system to the other. But what's your thoughts? Kind of as I talked about the established game, because the only real challenge is there are some people out there that this hobby is as much about collecting as it is actually gaming and or painting and or building. This is got to catch them all, and maybe that's where the frustration creeps in. I mean, what's your answer to that? Do we just need to be more disciplined?
There's always more plastic crack, isn't there? I look at it from a little bit of a different angle here, because if you look at what happens in the competitive scene, particularly in AOS, the game system goes into a very competitive mode at the moment. That's the feeling I'm getting. And you get more and more so-called meta players that are simply looking at what is the most competitive army I can bring to a tournament. Those seem to be on the up, because when you look at the numbers of the latest tournaments of how many participants there were, they've been tripling over the last 2 years.
Yeah, true.
So you get that tendency, and then you get the beer and pretzels players like me. I see a nice unit for the faction. I'm not even talking about a particular army, but one of the 4 factions. I see a nice unit and I say, I'd like to have that in my collection. Let's paint it up. And I think there's space for all of us in there. It's just a shame that the competitive scene seems to be taking a hand over the narrative play at the moment. But hey, who am I?
Do you mean how the? Sorry, go on. Colin.
I agree with what Ralph says about how the scene seems to look like these days. We do get a lot of coverage of tournaments of you get the leading, shall we say, Twitch and YouTube streamers and channels, doing tables and all the metadata being pulled together and all that. So yeah, there is a lot of that. But at the same time, you know, you do have people like me who are feeling pretty anachronistic in, in this world, where I can understand the people who are new to the hobby, that just come in and they've got their little interest maybe in one army, one faction, one aspect of it. If they start getting interested, and if they start getting following the news cycle, the communities and all that, they might feel a little bit pressurized into getting, just jumping head on and starting collecting everything that new that comes out. Even I've got that impulse sometimes.
Yeah.
I had that when the Fishmen came out. I was eyeing up I was kind of.
Can I just say
vaguely
the
interested.
Iden of Deepkin? They're not fishmen.
They are fishermen.
Carry on.
But it's an impulse, and actually, GW at the moment is very crafty at creating that impulse.
Oh yeah.
And I think, if you can tone it down, if you can wait a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and then look back and think, am I still drawn to it? Am I still that, appealed by it? You might find out that you say, no, not really. I'll get on with, the pile of plastic I already have in my overstocked cupboard. So I think there is the element that we have become a little bit more driven by the impulse.
Yeah.
It's all a bit more available. It's easier to get them built. That gets quicker. That gets easier. You don't have models like you had, when they were metal and resin, where you had to, clean up each model before, it was ready for assembly and painting. So it is more approachable, and yeah, the turnover is quicker. Of, get something, have it built, move on. But there is, with a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to say maturity, because I don't want to make it sound like I'm patronizing anyone. But step back and think: do I really want it? Like,
Yeah.
do
Well,
I really want it?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think need's always a good word to apply as well. You
There
might
is
want
there
it.
is
You might want it. Do you need it?
Well, we don't need it really. None of it. When you look at it, if you want to be really honest with yourself, we want it because it's fun, because it's hobby, but it is superfluous to to life vital needs.
Yeah, but if you look at it from a pure, let's say, well, if you're like me, I'm a very slow painter, right? So I do like a unit of 5 in about a week or so, or 2 if I'm lucky.
Well, that's
That
quick
costs
for me.
That costs what, 20 euros or 20 pounds, whatever. And I'm investing like 15 to 20 hours into that unit. I mean, what hobby is out there that you can get that cheap and get a lot of satisfaction out of it? That's the question I'm always asking myself. So,
You know what? You raise a good point, actually, because if you do invest the time to build, paint, and then game with, your actual the value you're getting out of the models is much greater. Your personal experience is much greater, rather than just simply buying them and sticking them on a shelf, which does feel like an expensive model. Or so yeah, it's an interesting view. We've got a couple of bits in the chat which I want to just visit. Big Met Danskill says, "Show me the money." I assume that basically means keep bringing out as much as possible. He'll be happy. And Moogie Pie says, "For sure, there's far too much coming out, specialist game-wise." We've got a really cool name, Samurai Kensai. My dad introduced me to it. Great stuff. I use it for scale model aircraft too. So I think that is the EMA Model Supplies the World, which is cool. Martin Dick says, hey. It's superior for helping get rid of join lines. I've just noticed that. I've actually used it as a filler just there and it worked really well. David Ellis says, so random thoughts. I have some Khorne AOS stuff on my testing pile and I'm wondering what colour scheme to try them. Liking the idea of cold blue plus white Khorne demons. Any suggestions? Go on then. Khorne in any other colour than red? Can it be done?
Yeah.
Charcoal black.
Charcoal
You know what
black.
would be cool? What would be cool would be a Zinchi color scheme on the Khorne dudes. You know,
Yeah.
like dark purples, violets, that sort of stuff.
I think if you think about realms, because that's what's great about Age of Sigmar, then if you go for the Realm of Steel, Shaman, that's blues. You know, the ice colours. What did you say, Ralph? Sorry, just to come back to that. You were suggesting
Dark violets.
Yeah, I think all of those would work. Though dark violets, that could be Shayesh, couldn't it? So you could. So try and think about the faction from a realm other than Akshi or something like that. I'm not quite sure. You know, but as soon as you start to say, well, they're from a different realm, then I think it starts to inform the possibilities on colour scheme. One thing I have noticed, guys, you know I talked about you just drop this glue into the gaps. I've just been doing one model here that's actually quite an open model, and I've just seen how quickly it melts the plastic. No wonder all you have to do is touch it to the join and it creates a great bond, because it so quickly disintegrates the plastic. That's incredible. When you saw it on an open model, it was really obvious how quickly it was taking it, you know, to kind of join them.
I mean, that's the reason why I like it that much. When I did my model planes, Coleman, I used to use a Revel, you know, the glue from Revel, which took ages to settle. It's not a bad glue, mind you, but it's like an hour or two before you could even touch it again.
Wow.
And then a friend of mine got me onto the Tamiya stuff about, what, 10, 15 years ago, and I've never looked back.
Well, you need to take into account that when I were a lad, what we had on our communist market was a glue.
Yeah, sure.
And when
sure.
we ran out of a glue, my dad actually pinched my mum's nail varnish remover and attempted to make a glue on my models of that.
That's incredible.
Because they're all acetone based, aren't they?
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, we've dropped a couple of little bits of sprue into it, let it dissolve, and it actually made a glue.
Mm.
How
Yeah.
cool is that?
But you've had great, you know, there's great companies in the former communist countries that made fantastic models.
Yes, and I must say the best ones I've heard were from Czechoslovakia and East Germany.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I agree.
And you know, I still remember I was 7. I went on like a summer camp in it was somewhere near Rostock, and we went on a day trip to Rostock, and I spent all my money that I had on me in the Pico shop, buying stuff for my train sets, because in Germany that was just like you could have anything. There were massive shops just filled with trains for H0 and TT gauge.
Yeah. Good old times.
Yeah, I still got them. I still got them, but I can't. I need to get the power transformer or whatever it's called for. That's gonna work with the old system.
So, if you're joining the show late, I just want to welcome you to Reminiscing with Coleman. In this show, Coleman tells us about his entire childhood, from start to finish, while I build Blackstone Fortress miniatures. Right, back on with it, Coleman. Where were you?
You don't want to know about my whole childhood. Queuing up for bread and all that. No. But going back to the globe, you know, it's different with the push fits. But I must say, what I like about the traditional glue or normal models is that it doesn't set that quickly, and you still can things about while it's setting.
Sure. I mean, you've got two of the Tamiyas. You've got the Tamiya extra thin, and then you've got the Tamiya extra thin quickset. And the Tamiya extra thin, you've got like 3-4 minutes to work with.
Yeah.
But the quickset is like instant, 30 seconds. So if you've got like really fiddly bits and pieces, that's what I use that one for. Because, you know, plug it in there, put the glue on, forget about it, and it's done.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to catch up with the chat again while you guys carry on with Reminiscing with Coleman. We've had a few things. Alan clearly saying you need high AP low damage versus Necrons. That's cool. As I said, Jack was. I absolutely agree, by the way. And Jack was playing Death Guard, and almost all of his stuff was relatively low AP and high damage. So just a bad mix for him, really. But it was the first time he came up against Necron, so it was, you know, a lesson learned there. Danny Boy, I think Elster Nation was in there somewhere. Hey, evening all.
Yes,
Sorry, late to the party. So Elster Nation's out there. Come on, Elster Nation, you can join in if you want. I think there's a live chat open if you want to join in. And we have what else we got? Danny the Boy 11 saying, hey there, it's this Friday, going to pick up this at the local store. Cool. Amit is in there. Acharya, hi Phil, great to see you back online. Putting the O with WGO. Thank you very much, mate. I wish I knew what that meant, but I'm just going to take it as a compliment. What else have we got going off in there? Avoid confusion. I have no interest in playing regular 40k, but I love the books, especially the Eisenhorn books. So when I found out about Kid Team and now Blackstone Fortress, I thought that's for me. Bravo, I love the Eisenhorn books too. I just finished them and then I moved on to Ravna. And I've just finished Ravna Rogue. What a book. In fact, what a whole range of books, but awesome. Loved it. And it is, as I mentioned in last week's show, what I really like about this is the expansion of... just had a message from Paul. I'm not sure I can say that online, but I love the expansion into what I would consider the general universe. So we're seeing this this is kind of, it's not all about war. I'd love to see a kill team, you know, a tavern fight, a bar fight in a kill team scenario would be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it? In fact, you know what, I'm going to build a tavern map for a kill team game, definitely. I just love the idea that we're getting back almost to that sort of dungeon bashing kind of element, but even in 40k, if you like, a little bit more thematic. Right, where was I? I am now moving on to building something. Paul, you know what, I'm gonna, cause he's hassling me on the chat, I'm going to say, yeah. Paul can't join us. And the reason Paul can't join us is he's chosen his bath time to listen in on the show. No, I think he's getting his revenge on me, because I think I once commented on one of his shows from the bath. So I don't know why listening to somebody else's YouTube show in the bath feels inappropriate. but it's just got that little edge to it, hasn't it? It just doesn't feel quite right. But there you go. Nice, Paul. Don't forget to clean behind your ears. What else have we got going off? David Ellis. So I have one vote in favour of blue white corn. Any other ideas? I think we did say purple. So that's 2. The chat could be a bit later back. Blue whites. You've just got to go away from red, haven't you? If you really want to do something different. I quite like the charcoal black. I've seen that done. So it's like the black with sort of ashen grey highlights and stuff. I think that's really nice. Works really well with a sort of ashy realm kind of. Ashy, thank you very much. Realm. I knew I was stumbling over that word, so thanks for that, Ralph. Always out there to help. Frank Storm, Dark Mechanicus and Beastman playable in 40k. Oh, what? I don't even know what that's a comment to, but that's so cool. And Elston, stop it, mate. Stop making me giggle halfway through. You just behave yourself. David Ellis says, on that competitive note, it's been putting me off playing 40k for quite a while now. I find the AOS community a bit more laid back, even at the competitive level. I have to agree with you, David. I believe, David, that's how we met. So, what a cool. In fact, actually, look what showed up today. Can I get this on camera? Hold on, I'll have to zoom out a little bit. Woo! Probably not that much, but here we go. This arrived today. Super excited. You know what? That's a terrible background to show it. Hold on. Does that work? So I got my Warhammer World Knight of the Inner Circle award today. So I put a massive smile on my face when this showed up. Completely unexpected. I'd almost forgot that they actually send a physical award for it as well. So I was really pleased to receive that. So thank you again to everybody who voted for our team at the tournament, which was absolutely brilliant to receive that. So yeah, little thank you there. David says, I have 40k armies. I find 40k armies are a bit more cutthroat, and oddly I play 40k for the story more than the game, so seeing some competitive builds for it just breaks the immersion, I find. Ooh, I'm with you on that. I don't like to see a build that I just can't rationalise in my head against the lore of the game or the, you know, the fluff of the game. Right. Sorry, a little tricky bit there with the knife. David also says, at Phil, I do plan to be that guy with a +1 to hit and wound in Saint range Bloodthirster, so Realm of Life it is, and green-brown corn doesn't seem right. I figure cold fits anywhere. Yeah, I like that. You know what's wrong with green-brown corn? You know that kind of green that Sam was always so cute at? And it's like the Lustrian green or whatever. It's that kind of slightly earthy green. I think that would work really well. That deep green and brass would work really well. So, you know, nothing wrong with that. And in fact, actually, if you did the green and bronze, then you are the bronze rather than the brown. I thought that could look pretty cool. So there you go. Samurai Kensai says, those minis really do look stunning. I can't wait to get my copy of the game on Friday. They are amazing. They're beautiful. Couldn't join, been painting models aside. I think the instructions GW producing are so much better nowadays. 100% agree, unless of course you're trying to build the new Necron ginormous device and they've done some of their instructions backwards. There's only a couple of errors, but enough to cause confusion, so that was a bit of a oopsie, but not the end of the world, because it's such a beautiful model. My brother has brought that new Necron ginormous construct, and we cleaned it up this weekend and had a good look at it, and it's a great piece of kit.
It was actually DJ the Lucky One raised actually a good point here, because he says, I play the games because I like the minis and painting. Hello, thank you very much. You're my kind of man.
Well, you know, yeah, I mean, I've kind of always said I'm a hobbyist first before I'm a gamer. Definitely. So does that make me your kind of man, Ralph?
Probably. Beer and pretzels. You'll find out when you come over.
Beer and pretzels. I look forward to that.
Right,
Frank
Acharya's
Storms.
going.
Sorry?
So Acharya's going. So let's send him a big bisou. Mwah, mwah,
Thank-
mwah.
Thanks, Amit. Love you.
Thanks, Amit. See you later, dude.
Go and have a run in the forest with your airsoft gun.
Yeah, well, that's it. He's
Your
you know,
imposter.
he's still got a bit of the hobby going in him, isn't he? But I'd say he's done that classic thing of got distracted by several hobbies.
It's just reflexes, Phil. Now it's just reflexes.
Dear me. Right, what else have we got going off? Eagles would be amazing for Dark Eldar faction in this game. Yeah, what a cool idea. I like that. I do hope they expand these. I think it's highly unlikely, but you know, some of these little factions would be lovely to see. I'd love to see the you know, these little what are these things I'm working on? The spindle drones. I'd love to find out who made these things, you know. It's probably in the fluff and I've not read that bit yet, but we'll come back to that later. Right, models aside, no, we've done that one. Samurai says MPG, Special Hobby Sword, AZ models, RS models, KP, oh, a whole bunch of stuff. All Czech model companies and made some... Oh, don't say that. You'll get Coleman back into reminiscing for a good 45 minutes. He's gone quiet.
That's the only thing I'm good for still.
That's not true at all.
At my age.
Right, okay, what else have we got? Big Mac. I'm almost always bathing when I watch you on a Monday film. Oh, I so wish I hadn't read that comment out loud. Bath time with Phil. I might change the name of the show.
Maybe that's the right way. Maybe we're doing it wrong.
Okay, Samurai says, I love fluffy armies. I can't stand armies made purely to be competitive. Stuff like mixed craft world armies really irritates me. Yeah, I know. But, you know, if the competitive side of the gaming is what you're about, then I do think, you know, it's, you know, you are playing the kind of game you want to play. It still works, but I know what you mean. Personally, it's not the kind of game I play, and I think one of the things we said all the time along Wargamer Online would be, it would be a channel that is predominantly about the hobby and all aspects of it. So yes, we cover gaming, yes we do bat reports, which by the way, our release schedule is now, our queue of releases is now complete. So we will be starting our new release schedule come this weekend. So thank you to everybody who's helped me. Patrick was actually in touch earlier, said it'd be a good idea to put a page on the website pointing out everybody who's been helping out to get to this point as well. So I think that's a great idea actually. I've been changing the credits on the video as well, on the video, so people get credited for doing their editing and production and all the rest. But we've finally reached what I considered as critical mass of content. So we're in a brilliant position now to start a new sort of regular release schedule. You know, it's taken us a while to find our feet again, but I've got a great backlog of content that's all going to get started to release from this weekend onwards. There is going to be a huge prize draw at Christmas. Multiple prize draws at Christmas. We've got on the 16th of December, I think, we're at Barwell Bodyworks for one of the previous prize draws, which was a full day's Airbrush tuition. So looking forward to doing that. Yeah, so there's a lot coming up. 40k battle reports, Age of Sigmar battle reports, Kill Team games, and something else. It's gone. Blackstone Fortress, but that was a side note. I think we've done a couple of skirmish as well along the way. Oh, and some Blood Bowl as well. We've got 2 or 3 Blood Bowl games that are filmed and edited, so there's going to be a whole new release. Some of it going onto Premium, some of it going onto YouTube. Some of it going on to premium and then eventually ending up on YouTube, but some of it remaining exclusive to premium again because we've got a great backlog of content now. So that's brilliant. And like I say, in December you are going to see a whole host of giveaways. We've got some exciting stuff that's come in to help for the giveaways, but there's going to be anything from sort of cash prizes to models, gaming systems, etc. Wow. These Negavolt cultists are absolutely insane, crazy looking models. Don't know whether you chaps have seen those at all, but the weird little chaos cultists that have a little bit of dark mechanicum going off in them. Very cool. So yeah, that's what's all going to be happening. David says he'll consider the bronze green. I have a flesh hound and a handful of blood warriors to spare to mess about on, see how it looks. Coleman says, Samurai says at Coleman, yeah, I remember building several KP kits when I was a kid. They went together pretty well and were pocket money prices. Quite accurate for shape too. There you go. Did you build any KP kits? Oh.
Not that I can remember the brands. 30 years ago.
Somebody's out reminisced you.
Well, he just carries on, yeah. You know, behind your back.
This show has gone seriously sideways, says DJ the Lucky One. I'm not quite at what point.
The point about being my man, you know. That
Okay. Right. Right. You know what? How far back on the chat am I? I was a good way up the chat there. Nothing wrong with reminiscing. Lucky says more stories, please. Oh, David says it's hard. I don't mind seeing soup armies in 40k. Invested in the lore for too long. Now, if Eisenhorn Inquisition end up as a competitive solo build, I'm in. I just want to see Inquisition retinues as a faction you can field in Kill Team, and I will be supremely happy. And then beyond Inquisition retinues, I'd also like to see Necromunda Hive City gangs as well, but I can't see them doing that. Ralph, what do you think? Do you think they'll cannibalize Necromunda for Kill Team?
I somehow don't think so. No, I think they want to keep the two game systems pretty much apart.
Yeah.
What could happen is maybe that we will see in a couple of years' time, 2 or 3 years time down the road, specific Kill Team rules that come out for those. But I don't see them right now. I don't see them because they've got two sending systems that are geared towards a different kind of a different audience. And I think they went down a path of playing to multiple audiences. And I think they will for the foreseeable future will try to continue down that path.
Crikey. Yeah, I have to agree. I'd love to see it. I think that's selfishly because I am loving Kill Team. But saying that, Necromunda's there. A couple of the guys at the local club are aficionados of it, and we've said maybe we need to show some of this specialist stuff on the channel as well. So you never know, you might see some of them. I'm not going to make any heavy promises because by the time you add all of these up, right back to one of the original comments, you're in a position where you've got a hell of a lot of content you're trying to cover. So we do have to keep it realistic. I have no idea which bit this fits. I've got a horrible feeling I've messed up. No, I haven't. I'm just putting it on upside down. Okay.
I mean, if you look at it, really they've got 3 major game systems out now because I'm counting Kill Team as a major game system.
Yeah.
And then you've got the box games like Necromunda. That are for me they are sidekicks. Because with Kill Team, they committed to a long-term support, which they haven't done for Necromunda and the other games. So I'd be very surprised if they pull those in.
Do you think so though? Because you say I know. Okay, long-term support. That's a slightly different point, but there is a hell of a lot of Necromunda. The gangs have all been covered. Good point actually. The gangs are being. Is that all the gangs covered now? I think with the last release.
Good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I was surprised when 2 or 3 weeks ago when they've had that last release of a new gang. I was surprised that there was a release, to be honest.
I think it's regional, isn't it? We might not see a lot of it, but it gets heavily played. I am missing a component. You know what? While we've been chatting on, this was meant to be a 1-hour show tonight. There's the other component. And we are already at 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I have to thank Coleman for telling some of his stories, because they actually proved really popular.
That's what happens when you let me waffle on.
No, I enjoyed it, to be honest. And you know what? It's it got people asking for more, Coleman. So you're welcome back anytime. And Ralph, you too, seeing as though you like my kind of gaming style. So we'll do this again sometime.
Anytime.
Right, what have we got in? Let's just have one last catch up on the chat, and then I do have to go because I have got a hell of a week ahead of me. I apologise for being almost completely absent from WGO stuff this week. I'm not going to go into the details, but I've had a bit of a crazy week. These chaps who are on the chat with me are aware of what's going on, so you can at least vouch for me that I've got a lot going on at the moment, and unfortunately it's meant that I've had to just focus a little bit closer to home rather than getting more content out. But as I said, the good news is we are now at a great position to release a whole bunch of new content, and I'm already working on the release schedule. We've got some great stuff in for review as well, some really, really cool products, which I'm very excited about. And we've got more on the way as well. I've been contacted by, I think, I have a few people that are trying to, get everything lined up in time for Christmas. But either way, I've got a whole bunch of products on the way to me, and some that's already landed on my desk. And you know what? Just because these people sent quite a lot of this stuff through, you're going to be seeing a review of, is this showing? Yep, these are battle ready bases by Gamers Grass, and they are stunning. I mean, they're incredible bits of work, absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to get them so they show on camera properly. So these literally come in the packet like that, and they're just amazing. So expect a full review on these at some point. We're talking about trying them out. I'm going to try them out. I'm going to see how well models bond to them, and we'll see how they go. But they're incredible, very beautiful stuff, and absolutely. Whilst you wouldn't necessarily want to probably at this stage base 10,000 models on this, I think they're brilliant. Certainly if you're getting into the hobby as well. And but yeah, we'll save the review. But that's amazing. Look, there's 10 bases in there of a kind of Mars pattern. Absolutely stunning designs. Beautiful snow, rocks. And that's not only what they've sent as well. We've got a whole bunch of incredible looking grass tufts and stuff like that as well. So expect to see them on review at some point over the next couple of weeks and even more. And there you go. Let's just do one last roundup of the chat. A lot of talk about Revel. Thanks, Coleman. Thordalim says only 6 original gangs have been released. Still more to go. Only the 6 original gangs, so there's still more. I'm happy with that. I hope that they continue to do it, because I think, again, as I said, it's a part of the 40k universe that really excites me. So looking forward to it. So Palatine Enforcers will be on the way at some point next year. Ha ha ha. Johnny Rockstar says, at the risk of appearing ancient, I began building Airfix kits before finding Games Workshop in Edinburgh when I was 19. I bought the Space Marine box set RTB01 in 1985. Ancient you are not. Seasoned hobbyist you are. There you go. How about that? And there we go. We're lots of people now. This has turned into a Reminiscing corner. So we could just reminisce all night. I don't know whether to just leave this show running and head to bed and leave you in the hands of Ralph and Coleman until the early hours.
Well, you can, because I'm too old to stay up.
What do you mean? You don't need any sleep anymore? Is that it?
No, I'm propping my eyelids with matchsticks already.
Ah, all right.
There you go. I am going to thank my two illustrious guests for joining me tonight, Coleman and Ralph. Ralph is what you call yourself in the chat, isn't it? So just so people recognise you from the chat. So Coleman and Ralph, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's much appreciated. You've seen a bunch of models being worked on. I'm just going to zoom out and say I actually got quite a bit done during all of that show, which is always good. We got one of these wonderful Negavolt cultists, which are just insane looking dudes. Absolutely brilliant. We got some of these guys done, the Urgles. We got the little tiny, I've forgotten their name already, the Spindle Drones, and the Beastmen are wonderful. Ginormous dudes, absolutely great models. So there you go. And I think we even finished off some of the original guys as well. So there you go. We got the priest and we had the crazy guy with a flamer, the zealot. So there you go. That's it. Another good hobby session. Next time you see these models, they'll either be on a painting tutorial or they'll be on the gaming table as we get into Blackstone Fortress. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will say goodnight. Guys, do you want to say goodnight to the chaps?
Night, everybody.
Good night and dobranoc.
Night all.